Last August, USDA estimated a net farm income at $122.2 billion for farmers and ranchers in this country. That prediction was a 3.7% increase from the previous year and upset some outside of agriculture who disagreed with crop insurance payouts. Tina Barrett from Nebraska Farm Business joined us after that number arose and noted it was possible, but drought would certainly play a role. The 2012 returns from Tina's group of producers are now in, and as she said when we talked Wednesday, little rainfall and high temperatures did affect 2012 net farm incomes.
We actually saw a drop in net farm income, maybe not as much as I expected, but it was an 8% drop from our record high income in 2011. We came in about $380,000 average net farm income.
Certainly if you followed the drought, that wouldn't necessarily be a shock, but is there something that separates the top group and the bottom group there in terms of earners?
You know, I think we saw the biggest gap in profitability that we've seen in a long time. And you could easily see those irrigated operations who were able to grow some record high yields and sell it for really great prices, while we had more zero yields than I've ever put into the system. And so those dryland producers certainly saw a different story. And so it becomes a tale of, you know, the average is just an average, and it's really a big split. We ended up with a net farm income spread of a little over $3 million. So.
Was there some help there on the dry land? Did most of them have at least a little crop insurance?
Oh, yeah. We have very few producers who don't take any, and I think our last holdouts probably switched over for 2013 as we saw a lot of increase in levels, both based on, you know, those dryland guys who, you know, had a rough year last year, as well as the people who are betting that without a drought this year, we'll have lower prices come fall.
What about the livestock producers? I have to imagine those are the ones that really had a hard time in 2012.
You know, certainly we saw about 15% of the farms we work with had negative incomes, and they were either largely dryland operations or livestock influenced. And I think that livestock influence we're going to see a bigger problem with in 13, even as we, you know, those feed shortages start to show up. The pastures, you know, that we're dealing with are under such stress from last year.
And continuing forages that get shorter and shorter.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think, you know, for those livestock guys, we need to be well aware that 2013 could still be a rough year.
To that extent, input costs, what did you see in 2012? I mean, when you talk about 2013, that can only go up, I'm sure.
Right. You know, we saw a $100 increase in total cost between 2011 and 2012. Total cost, including a charge for family living, came up to about $730 an acre for corn. So, you know, we're seeing increasing costs, and that's $300 more than we saw 5 years ago.
Does that, I mean, is that along a trend line, or?
You know, I think as we've seen farm profitability rise, we've seen input costs rise with it. I think the interesting thing will be to see if farm profitability drops off, how quickly, or if input costs are going to be able to follow, and how many farms are going to be in position to take those tough years, or if we'll have a real significant problem.
We know land costs are high. What are you seeing in cash rent numbers?
We're certainly seeing cash rent numbers coming up. Now, you know, in our history of running these averages, we never see cash rents, you know, dollars follow what, you know, is talked about. We don't see, while there's $400 and $500 cash rents paid, our average was just over $200 an acre this last year for irrigated corn in Nebraska. So, and that covers a wide range, but it also includes a lot of those cash rents that nobody wants to talk about.
Those are the people you want to hang out with.
That's
then,
right. So, yeah.
The family living, does that follow the trend as well?
Family living trend just continues to go up. Actual out-of-pocket costs needed for family living went over $100,000 this year, and that doesn't include the $40,000 that went out in taxes. So. So of that $382,000, a significant amount of that money is going out the door very quickly for family living and taxes.
I know you look at a group that is the most efficient that you work with, those top earners or the top efficiency. What separates them, Tina, the top ones from maybe the others?
Yeah, usually when we look at things, especially when we get down to a per acre basis, we see $1 here and $1 there. Sometimes, you know, seed would be the only input that we see a significant difference on. Fertilizer and chemicals kind of bounce back and forth.
Okay.
But we see just a real management of every dollar that's going through that operation, and where the average saw a drop in net farm income, that top efficient group saw a significant increase.
Any advice there as to what, you know, those other people in that group or any casual producer can do to try and get into that upper group?
You know, I think one of the things that's important is being diligent about the bookkeeping, which is not something that everybody wants to do. But if you're spending all year long in the field and not worrying about what your costs are and just spending money because it's in the checking account, you know, I think you're going to put yourself in a different group than these guys who are conscious about every dollar that they're spending.